April is Autism Acceptance Month, and this encore episode of the Special Chronicles Podcast honors the voices, stories, and lived experiences that continue to shape our understanding of autism. Hosted by me, Daniel Smrokowski, this episode revisits a powerful conversation originally aired in December 2016, one that continues to inspire listeners around the world. In this episode, I sit down with author and self-advocate Tyler McNamer, who was diagnosed on the autism spectrum and went on to write the influential book Population 1, Autism Adversity and the Will to Succeed. Tyler invites listeners into his world with honesty, humor, and a perspective that challenges assumptions while celebrating individuality. Our conversation explores how his book project began, what inspired him to write, and the deeper meaning behind his message. Tyler shares his belief that he can show you a different way of viewing the world, and offers a powerful reframing of identity, not as autistic, but as highly unique. He also writes his philosophy that the best kind of freedom is the freedom to do good. This episode dives into several of the book's most meaningful chapters, touching on communication, family, personal growth, leadership, and change. Tyler shares insights from his journey, navigating challenges, finding mentors, honoring memories, and ultimately claiming his voice. He also reflects on the response to his book, his hope for readers, future writing plans, and offers helpful advice for others with autism or special needs who dream of going to college or sharing their own story. Listeners, you can find full show notes, follow Special Chronicles on social media, subscribe to the podcast, and listen to more episodes on demand at specialchronicles.com/pod. That's specialchronicles.com/pod. You're also encouraged to sign up for our newsletter to stay updated on new episodes. And if you enjoyed this episode, access our full autism collection at specialchronicles.com/autism. That's specialchronicles.com/autism. And now on to a special encore episode of the Special Chronicles Podcast about autism, adversity, and the will to succeed. Hey, Special Chronicles friends, this is Daniel Smrokowski, founder and host of Special Chronicles, coming to you before the start of our program today to ask you to join our Winter UN Giving Campaign 2016 to help us cover our costs of producing these podcasts. Your tax-deductible donation can help us bring you new podcasts each week that will inspire and uplift you. We thank you in advance for your generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. You can give your gift today at specialchronicles.com/given. That's specialchronicles.com/given. And now let's hear from one listener, Darren, who talks about the impact Special Chronicles brings to our community.
Special Chronicles is a wonderful platform for people with special attributes to share their amazing stories. It is inspiring and uplifting for me to hear from people from all around the nation about their great accomplishments. Keep doing what you're doing. Continue to give this wonderful community a place to share their successes and voice what is important to them.
My name is Tyler McNamer, and I am from Seattle, Washington. And you are listening to Special Chronicles Podcast, giving respect and voice to people with special needs.
This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
This episode 207 is brought to you by listeners like you. Please go to specialchronicles.com/given. That's specialchronicles.com/given, and help us in our Winter UN Giving campaign. And we thank you for your generous support. And this week on Special Chronicles, we sit down with author Tyler McNamer, author of the book Population 1, Autism Adversity and the Will to Succeed. All that and much more is coming up next right now on the Special Chronicles Podcast show on specialchronicles.com.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
You're listening to the Special Chronicles Podcast. This is a show where we're podcasting disability or diff ability stories from an insider's perspective, and we are giving a voice to people with special needs. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to the Special Chronicles Podcast show. My name is Daniel, and I am your host and founder of Special Chronicles. So good to be back behind the mic. So good that you all are joining us. However you found out about Special Chronicles, we are so glad and thankful that you are here. And we're so happy that today we had an opportunity to sit down for a lengthy but an awesome, very great conversation with Tyler McNamer, who is an author. He also is diagnosed on the autism spectrum, and he wrote a book back when he was in high school called Population 1, Autism Adversity in the Will to Succeed, Discover Disability, Change into Extraordinary Ability. And like I shared with Tyler at the beginning of our conversation that you'll hear in just a bit, that you will hear in just a moment, I discovered Tyler's book just on one of my social media feeds. It was an ad on one of my social media feeds, and that's how I discovered this book. So I reached out, got in touch with him, and the result is what you will hear right now. Is our conversation with Tyler McNamer. It's a pretty little lengthy one, so we're not going to have anything else on the show, but I just want to share right now. If you want to share your feedback about anything that Tyler talks about on the show today, please email us anytime, feedback@specialchronicles.com. That's feedback@specialchronicles.com, or reach out to us on social media at Special Chronicles on Facebook, or at Special C Podcast, on Instagram or Twitter. And you can follow me anywhere at Podman Dan, PODMANDAN, at Podman Dan on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or Snapchat of what I'm doing off air and behind the scenes. So all that is you can get in touch with us, and we've got tons more exciting content for you guys coming in the coming weeks. But I'd like to share with you a little intro trailer that Tyler has for his book Population 1, and you can find and purchase his book Population at population1.com. And we're going to try to bring to you a hold on. The video starting to play. So we're going to try to give away a copy of his book, so stay tuned to specialchronicles.com and to our social media feeds, because we'll let you know how you can enter to win a copy of his book. But now, before we get to our conversation with Tyler McNamer, I'd like to share with you the audio of the trailer for his book, Population 1.
Population 1 is a book. It's very unique. It's extraordinary. It's written in a voice of someone that has autism. And that insight into the autistic mind is something that I think is profound. And I think it really is the beginning of opening up a whole new understanding for many people that have autism and other unique abilities.
I had no idea that he loved to write and that he had something to share. So we had a conversation about the book, and he told me the title, and I am so excited about it. The way he presented it to me was, in Population 1, not so much he is a population of one, but each of us is a population of one.
It is an extraordinary feat when a teenager writes and publishes a book. It's only happened to me with 500 clients one time before, and this person that it happened to didn't have any challenges, any unique abilities, so to speak. And for Tyler to take the bull by the horn and do this and drive these coaching calls and write this book and to say we're going to get this done before I graduate from high school, that's a very, very special thing.
Population 1 is the book that I wrote, which means that I'm going to talk to people about my life with autism. And I think it'll be really great if kids, teenagers, and teachers, and adults, or any kind of individual have the ability to see or for me to share my world with theirs in order to be inspired to make their lives for the better.
He inspires us to carry on. He inspires us to rethink what we're doing and how we're doing it.
So your chance to be part of something amazing. I look forward to you being part of this amazing project. And as and you can see the world through my eyes, through Tyler's eyes, by buying Population One now at population1.com. And now, without further ado, let's kick our conversation off with author Tyler McNamer, author of the book Population One: Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed. Right here on the Special Chronicles, exclusively on the Special Chronicles podcast show on specialchronicles.com. Oh yeah, there's a pimple there somewhere, I don't know. So now let's get a conversation with author Tyler McNamer, author of the book Population One: Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed, exclusively right here, right now on the Special Chronicles podcast show on specialchronicles.com. Joining us today on the Special Chronicles podcast show is Tyler McNamer, author of the book Population One: Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed. Welcome to Special Chronicles, Tyler.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I first discovered your book. I think I saw an ad for it in my Facebook news feed. I don't know how the ad came up, but I somehow came across an ad for your book. So a few weeks ago, and so and I think I saw in I think I saw that the book came out in 2013.
That's correct. Yes.
A few years ago. So why don't you first introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, what special needs or special attribute or disability that you were diagnosed with, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, my name is Tyler McNamer. I'm currently 22 years old. I started writing the book at age 18 during my high school years. It was at first kind of like a little quick little side project I've been doing along with schoolwork and all that good stuff, family time. But then I realized instead of writing 10,000 words, I started writing 44,000 words, just about a medium, and kind of wanted to share what it's like to have autism in the first person mind. And one of the biggest reasons I kind of did that was just so that I could show my classmates, saying, "Hey, I got this cool book I've been doing," and I kind of interesting way to be accepted once again too, because I really like those classmates, and I kind of did that project just to in a way kind of be accepted. Sounds kind of funny, right? But that was just one of my major motivations and such.
Neat.
And my goal was to publish the book before I graduate, but the major problem is that it was a week late after I graduated. Yeah. So I was major bummed, saying, "Oh man, I didn't get a chance to show off my book with my classmates and teachers and all that kind of stuff." But then after that, I've been selling bookstores and Amazons, and I was getting close to selling about oh boy, I can't count, but just about 20,000 copies worldwide.
Neat. Yeah. I was diagnosed with learning disabilities, and kind of the same thing of why you wrote your book that I'm holding in my hands. Our listeners can't see this because it's just audio. But one of the reasons why I started this whole podcast and media network here at Special Chronicles was kind of the same thing, so people could understand me and understand other people like yourself. So can you tell us a little bit about what you are studying in college and where you're going to college now, and what year you are? Is this your first year?
Well, actually, I've been kind of dilly-dallying with a bunch of classes recently. I'm not really actually in a college, school or anything like that. I've been taking college classes. Yeah. So later, after I graduated from high school, I went to this place called West Sound Tech, where they can show different, things that people can do, such as hospitality and tourism and computer design engineering. I kind of did those two, and a special third one, which is construction trades. That was more like a summer school kind of stuff. Yeah. And then after that, I took another college course now, which is over at Birmingham College. And the classes I took were, photography and screenwriting. Yeah. I kind of wanted to try a little bit more to expand the whole writing gig, so I decided to try screenwriting just to see how it's all about. Yeah. And it's interesting because the professor, he said that screenwriting is one of the hardest forms of literature, hardest form of writing. Yeah. It's like painting with words, that kind of stuff too. Yeah. And Professor Aaron Drain, he's actually done the whole gig too, writing a book and doing screenplays and even close to directing his own little flick, which is called Fear Clank. That's like his thing that he likes to do too. So those are the kind of stuff I've been kind of doing, screenwriting, photography, just for fun, just to keep me a little bit busy while I work on the book. Signing and shipping them out and such.
Yeah. Neat. So how did this book get started? You said that you started it when you were in high school and when you were 18. But can you share with us a little bit about how this all came, a little bit more about how this all came about and the very beginning stages? Because I'm still in the process of writing a book of my story, and then I'm also one of my former teachers. We went on a last-minute trip to Tennessee to a concert a couple weeks ago, and we're in the process of trying to co-author a book about full circle inclusion. But so I'm in the process of kind of two things in the middle of a whole bunch of other stuff. but kind of take us back to the beginning process of when you first started coming up with the idea of the book, and kind of how did that all come about?
Yeah, so I pretty much started this whole book gig because there was a time in high school where I kind of felt pretty darn depressed. I feel like that I don't belong and all that kind of stuff. I feeling like an outsider, that kind of stuff. Even my elementary school kids who I used to grow up with, now grown up, they don't really treat me as an equal as much too. They just treat me as, hey, someone has someone with autism. You got to talk really slowly and such. And I didn't really quite like that too much too. So, it was the whole thing about depression, feeling like I'm alone. I always have to hide in a corner, even hide under desk. Believe it or not, I was such a character back then. Still am. I mean, under desk, but I only do it alone at home when no one else is around. I kind of regulate and such. Yeah. So during high school, I felt super sad and angry and all that kind of stuff too. So I decided to take it out by first doing gym stuff because I'm super active and love sports, and at the same time decide, hey, that's not enough. I gotta start putting this on words. Yeah. So I started writing just a bunch of random stuff, my feelings and all these emotions that go through even through memory. that kind of stuff even back then. And then after a whole bunch of words, I decided to say, hey, maybe I could write so much of this. This could be like a book and such. So I came up with the title Population 1 because at first it was like, hey, me, alone in this world, I'm the only one in this world, Population 1, all that kind of stuff. And then further out on the book, I decided to put a different me behind Population 1, one Earth, the one population full of people. It still counts as one Earth.
Yeah.
That's what it means by Population 1.
Yeah.
I mean, one Earth in front of billions of galaxies and such.
Neat. So why else did you decide to write this book? Was it mostly for your classmates? And I saw on the back you have a few endorsements on the back of the book. And I think one person, Patrick Snows, said that it's a must-read for every school administrator, and I'm guessing probably also for different high school students and different kids of all ages too. But are there any other reasons of why you decided to write the book?
Yeah, so another reason I kind of decided to write is because just so that, I could, kind of explain to myself, what it's like to have autism. This was also, a personal journey for me too as well. Saying that, hey, I could learn something about myself too when it comes to, writing this book. And I kind of learn all this stuff and thinking, hey, maybe they could, my audience could also learn a little bit about myself and where I come from and why I do this or why I do that kind of stuff. So I kind of like to. I pretty much just wrote it just because saying hey, people can learn and learn just a little bit more about me and maybe become my good friend or acquaintance, that kind of stuff too. Yeah. It's kind of like a lawn, kind of a lawn. How do you pronounce that? How do you put it? Kind of a lawn. See, that's a thing I also wrote in the book that I kind of lose words easily. Yeah. So, kind of a long introduction on who I am, I guess you can say.
Yeah. Neat.
And maybe I could, in a way, be a voice of people who have autism as well, and I can understand it pretty easily as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm joined today. Our guest on the Special Chronicles podcast show is Tyler McNamer, author of the book Population 1, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed. There's another author, I don't know if you've heard of him, he's also a public speaker. His name's Kerry Magwell. I don't know, have you heard of him?
That sounds mighty familiar. I work at a bookstore here too, and we got a bunch of bestsellers up on the hill.
He also has autism. I've got one of his books on my bookshelf in the back. I would try to get it, but then I'll be kind of away from the microphone. And he kind of wrote a couple books about his story, kind of the same with what you did here in your book, Population 1. Mm-hmm. So what inspired you to write this book? Is it were there any particular classmates who inspired you, or family, or your community, or what inspired you to?
Yeah, that's a very good question. What inspired me to write and to keep on going was for one thing, my classmates, because I really liked them back then. Back in elementary school, they treated me as an equal, and they're full of characters themselves too. It's almost like something you would see of a cartoon or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's one inspiration is with kids, even at leadership, they're saying hey, keep dancing, keep going, that kind of stuff too, because I used to do leadership, and I was thinking, one way to be a leader is to show an example, and that is to, write the book, something that hasn't been done before in high school. which is to write. Another thing that kind of inspired me was, or another someone else who inspired me was pretty much my dad. He kind of had this idea saying, hey, get your feelings out. So put them in words. They don't have to make any sense. I kind of got that too, where he said that they don't have to make sense. At first, because they're just feelings and what comes into mind and such, and then eventually you'll get a chance to edit them out, that kind of stuff. And ultimately, my mom, she I pretty much live with her pretty much most of the time. She's like, her house is my house, and so I live with her more often. She gives me the most emotional support and stuff. And my dad he knows the whole business gig and stuff too. Yeah. Mom, she doesn't really quite know as much. She just she always says, I'm just the mom. That's what she likes to say. Yeah. But whenever she joins me on my little traveling thing, I just call her my manager. Yeah. Yeah. And so those are pretty much the three main people that kind of inspired me to write the book is, my classmates, and my dad and my mom too. My teachers, though, too, super helpful too. They always, help me. Yeah, I saw that in the, I think in the, somewhere in the beginning of the book, I think was it, acknowledgements. What? I think it was the acknowledgements. Yeah. That part. Yeah, you mentioned some of your teachers there. Yeah. Quick story, by the way, too, is that when I was in first and second grade, I had a teacher named Miss Murray or Mrs. Murray, and I used to have her on first grade, and then she really liked me so much that she wanted to have me to be in her class for the second grade. Yeah. And I thought that was pretty special too. I was thinking, hey, Miss Murray could be my, Mrs. Murray could be my, teacher for the rest of the elementary school. Yeah. But it doesn't really quite work that way. When I got third grade, Mr. Pearsall, I pretty much, told or asked him, excuse me, sir, where's the teacher? And he says, well, I'm the teacher. And I'm like, yeah, right. Where's the teacher? Because I thought, they were all female, believe it or not. Neat. So you have the subtitle of your book, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed, and then you which is underneath the title of your book, and then at the top you have where it says that's a tag. The what? Oh, the tagline. Oh yeah. That at the top, discover disability changed into extraordinary ability. Can you that subtitle or tagline that you have, and then the tagline at the very top? Can you tell us a little bit about how you came up with those? Yeah. So this was kind of like a little tag team effort with my dad. Me and my dad, we were kind of like thinking of some new of these ideas on what the tagline or the subtitle would be, and. I just came up with the title. I didn't really quite know about the tagline or the subtitle. I mean, I sort of did know because I read books and such, but I ultimately forgot it for my part. Yeah. And so we were kind of like, doing all these different ideas, and we were thinking, what starts with the letter A that sounds cool next to the word autism. So we came up with adversity, and we thought, hey, that would be kind of neat. And what comes after that? And that will be the will to succeed, and saying that, hey, it is possible to succeed even with autism. You may not, quite, see it at first, especially when you're like in a very small age and such. Yeah. Because I remember, when I was small age, I was just a pain. I kind of had super. Embarrassing moments back then. Yeah. When I was little, but that didn't stop us. Never give up. And to me, I'm alone in my house, and I can feed myself, and go to traveling and drive and stuff. That's me today. But back then, that's I had some more help. It just takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And saying that the will to succeed, saying that it is possible for someone to, have autism and they'll be able to succeed. And for the tagline, discover disability change into extraordinary ability. That just means that you don't call it a disability, you call it an extraordinary ability. Yeah. Kind of a unique little twist.
It is.
You put that as well. And I came up with my new little quote. It's called "Never diss your ability."
Yeah, absolutely. So you wrote on page 15 with this book, I'll show you a different way of viewing the world through my eyes. And a friend of mine who also has autism, her mom came up with an idea for a documentary film that it was just an idea. So I don't if there's any filmmakers out there who's listening. Idea that we had, it was kind of going along with what you wrote about that about through our eyes. So those of us with special needs like yourself and like myself and other people with special needs kind of seeing the world through our eyes. Can you and you wrote about this in the foreword of your book, but can you, and I'm sure I'm sure all the chapters in your book are a perfect example of kind of showing the people, of showing readers a look through the world or through the universe or through the population overall through your eyes. So can you kind of talk about what you kind of meant about that phrase and that line that you wrote?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, that's a little idea that you and your friend had. It's a great idea. I think that sounds great. And back in screenwriting class, Mr. Aaron Drain, he's been all the film industry, and every time there's like an idea coming up and such, he just calls it in development. Which is fancy way of saying a great idea. Could happen. It's called in development. Yeah. But back to the question with the eyes is that for the first chapter in the forwards, I kind of like the whole theme of like galaxies and universe and stars. I've been kind of I've been kind of like a self-proclaimed astrologist. That kind of stuff too, because like stars, it's kind of a neat way of seeing stuff. Yeah. So with the eyes, I take for example like a cartoon character, right? A cartoon character has their special unique eyes. When you see their eyes, you say, oh, it's for example Jake or something. And when the eyes look different, then that means that someone else's eyes are being put on that particular character. So the whole idea of switching eyes and seeing the world through their eyes, that kind of stuff. It's like someone's eyes in another person's body, that kind of stuff. So you can know, what it's like to see what I see and feel what I feel and think what I think, that kind of stuff too. Mm-hmm. So the eyes is a pretty good descriptive example on what it's like to see the world through what they're feeling, that kind of stuff. What it's like to be them, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, and maybe also a way for your former classmates and other students and kids and parents and administrators who read the book a chance for them to be more empathetic towards people who have autism or other special needs, to kind of see through your eyes. Kind of empathy, I think, maybe also kind of falls into that as well. What would you say?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Empathy to be empathetic? It seems like that would kind of also fall into kind of seeing through your eyes.
Yeah. I guess you can say it anyway. Sorry about that. I was just I was thinking. Yeah. But kind of like the apathy of kind of just showing what it's like to go through their eyes, and I guess I kind of tiny bits of a little hint of shout out to my former classmates and saying hey, I very much apologize for all the embarrassments I've been doing, and I just wanted to show you what's been going on on those moments and such too, and why I'm me today and such. That's pretty much what I was kind of getting. It's just a tiny bit, but not obvious. That's don't say don't state the obvious or anything like that. That's just writing in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll join today our guest on the Special Chronicles podcast show is Tyler McNamer, author of the book Population 1, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed. Also on page 15, you wrote about how you're not autistic, but you're highly unique, and finding here, and I should have underlined it. Oh wait, I'm looking on the wrong page. It might be helpful to look on the right page. Page 15 here. You wrote about how I have never thought of myself as autistic, just highly unique and a pretty awesome, cool dude. Can you share a little bit about yourself, about considering yourself highly unique?
Well, yeah. So I was kind of reading that out and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I did put that out there. So I don't really like to have people say oh look, it's the autistic guy and stuff like that too. I mean to me it doesn't really quite feel that so good and such. I'm just like everyone else and such. I just have autism. I'm just highly unique and think differently and I can be considered odd. I don't really mind being called odd. I think that's kind of a nice little compliment to me anyway.
Yeah.
Next to crazy and such. Crazy as in like hey, this guy can write a book and do a high jump on snowboards and stuff. That's crazy. That's that kind of stuff. So but autistic, I mean, sure, I do have autism, but it's I don't I have autism. I'm not autistic. You see the difference?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a kind of thing. It's like saying someone who has ADHD. I mean, sure, it's all right for someone to have ADHD and saying don't worry about him. He has ADHD and stuff like that too. But there's lots of great people who have that and they can take it as kind of compliments. For me, it's just kind of saying that, it's saying, hey, I have autism, it's okay, but don't call me autistic, that kind of stuff. I'm just highly unique.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I guess I'm trying to make it sound, not as complicated as it should.
Yeah. Yeah. Also on page 17 there, you wrote about the best kind of freedom is the freedom to do good. Yeah, and then you wrote it's what makes heroes. Can you share with us a little bit about kind of what you meant about that line that you wrote in right before chapter 1 and right after the forward about this book?
Sure. So the best kind of heroes is the best kind of freedom is the freedom to do good. Is what makes us heroes. So, main reason I kind of wrote that, little quote is that during my years of high school, I kind of noticed that some kids they make some bad decisions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of guy saying hey, don't do that, or you're going to get in trouble, or all that kind of stuff too. I'm not that kind of person. I just kind of mind my own business and such. And when they do this kind of bad behavior, they kind of feel like they're kind of trapped. It's like doing drugs or drinking, all that kind of stuff. Too. It's sure it is freedom, but it's not the right kind of freedom and stuff too. And when you do freedom to do good, such as even the simple things like giving some flowers or doing some kind gestures, like holding the door for someone at Wendy's. Believe it or not, I actually got some coupons from that lady who who held the door open for her.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So,
Yeah.
So I think that particular moment, I was like, whoa, man, if you do, so many good things, who knows, you'll be able to get coupons at Wendy's or something like that too. And but not just that, but, when you do good for others, it makes you feel good. You have the freedom to do that kind of gestures for others. And it's a very good feeling. And one thing that my mom and I we were working on is that we would do just about anything, but with good intentions and stuff too. Say, for example, you go over to the to the stadium at high school, and you give off the school spirit, and seniors and freshmen, we don't really get along as much, or so they say. But I was a freshman, and they were the seniors. And I kind of wanted to show off my utmost the great school spirit, and as shouting "Go!" They say Spartans, and I was dancing and cheering and shouting, cheering on for the team, and the seniors, they really like that. So what this freshman can do too, and I was thinking, hey, this is a good thing I can do, give off school spirit, and that's the freedom to do good. For others. Yeah. So that's what my mom kind of encouraged me for that kind of stuff too. Is you can do just about anything, but with good intentions. Yeah. My dad kind of mistakenly took it, saying, hey, do whatever you want and all kind of stuff too. But that's not true. That's not entirely true. As long as you're doing good for others, you're not hurting anyone, then you're still considered doing. Just doing the good, the freedom to do good.
Neat. So our guest today on the Special Chronicles podcast show, we're joined by Tyler McNamer, author of the book Population 1, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed. You could give us a brief synopsis on just a few chapters. So the first chapter you wrote is about Welcome to My World, and you talked a little bit about at the beginning of the program today about kind of why you titled the book the way you did, and you talked a little bit about that in chapter 1. But that maybe you could kind of give us just a brief idea of what readers can expect when they reach chapter 1, and a lot. What I like about the book, that again I'm still reading, but that I think maybe it will appeal to a lot of students and a lot of people, is that the chapters, even though there's 50 chapters in the book, that they're short, so it's a easy read for a lot of people. And I think that will probably maybe also grab a lot of people's attention. That it's short, easy chapters. So you're going to talk to us a little bit about first about chapter 1. Yeah.
So for chapter 1, I kind of had a lot of fun with this one. This was like my first little thing. This was my first little idea that I had where I was going with this. So the first chapter, I pretty much just I wanted to do something that's like fantasy, but relatable at the same time. I mean, to me, I really like writing something that's fictional and fantasy. Something that's like an idea based on reality and such. So for the first chapter, I kind of did this mix of astrology and space, all that kind of stuff, and just to kind of explain why I kind of titled Population 1 is that well, hey, why is this person called Population 1? Is it because it's this person alone, or is it something else? Why does he call it Population 1? Why is it not Population 1 and counting? Yeah. I can joke around with that title for a bit, but for the first chapter, I kind of just said one world, one universe, Population 1. And saying that everyone kind of has their own little little worlds. Like if their favorite color is red, they have a red world. Or if they're I even put dreams, saying that dreams are like shooting stars that go around their worlds. If their dreams came true, they become moons that orbit around their worlds. Yeah. Kind of stuff. So I kind of just like to toy around with the fiction, based on what's been going on. Who I see as peoples, they kind of represent as worlds, and when the worlds collide, one person gets to be in someone's world, and they become a population. Mm. So everyone is kind of the same way when it comes to population one. Yeah. Is that all of us is a world, and they can choose to be in our worlds anytime they feel like it.
Neat. So then, and I'm just going to touch on just a few chapters, not because we would be here for a long time if we talked about every chapter. So just a few chapters. But so then chapter 3, you talk about communication and kind of the way when you were a kid of introducing yourself and asking people what their name is, and then you I think you wrote towards the end of the chapter about how later on you learned that there was different ways of communicating, like I think you mentioned sign language with the way that people use their hands to communicate. Can you talk to us a little bit about again, gave us a brief synopsis of this chapter on communication that you wrote?
Sure, absolutely. One quick thing I want to mention is that one of my favorite chapters on the book is chapter 48, and it's something to do with ice cream. Wait, what? Ice cream? Why does he put ice cream on that too? Well, there's this thing about it, but anyway, once you read through it, you'll be pretty surprised on why I kind of like this chapter, and that involves ice cream. So back to your question, with the
and 48 is titled
the big event.
The big event. Okay.
Yeah, it's called big events. Pretty exciting title, I should say. So anyway, back to your question with chapter 3 and 4 is that communication was pretty darn confusing at times too. I really quite understand what everyone was talking about. So I get anxiety or kind of stimulus when people are talking. It's like stop talking. I don't know what you're talking about. It's all kind of strange and confusing at times too and such. And I didn't really quite form full on words until I was like 5 and such. Actually, I didn't really quite start talking when I was 5 too, because I was just mostly a reader. I actually learned how to read before I could actually speak. I understood the words. It's just I couldn't really quite, as well. It's interestingly is that a bunch of adults, they think they kind of thought that, I don't know if he's really understanding what we're saying, but I understood what they were saying. I just really couldn't show that I'm kind of understanding as well. So by the time I started, speaking at age 5, I got pretty darn excited. I was saying I was kind of thinking, oh man, I can speak. I can actually make my own voice and stuff like that. And a bunch of times I was just talking full on gibberish. I didn't really quite know what I was saying. All I knew is that I was excited to speak and to talk. And for the thing about the hands, the hand movements and such too,
and sign language,
it wasn't really quite sign language. But my uncle, he's really good at sign language too. All that stuff. The thing with the hands, I kind of just focus my eyesight on those hands too. It's like this person's probably painting a picture with these hands and such too. And so I was kind of mostly pay attention to those. Is like, am I focusing on the hands or am I focusing on the voice? That kind of such too. Even today, sometimes I kind of tend to look at the hands more often than the voices too. It's like, okay, this is what's going on and such, and I always thought it was like some sort of a picture being painted when it comes to those hands and different forms of communication as well.
Yeah, neat. So you wrote then in chapter 11 about when you first discovered autism, and so can you share with us a little bit about that chapter now, and then kind of tie that into maybe when you were first diagnosed with autism, and if or maybe it wasn't related to chapter 11 about discovering autism.
Yeah, so discovering autism was definitely a journey for me because at first, I was put into these like testing facilities. I'm not really quite sure what they're called, but kind of like these tests where you organize puzzle pieces and figure out shapes and numbers and patterns, all that kind of stuff too. I thought they were kind of fun because they give me something to do. It's like, all right, some more head tests, bring them all in. I didn't really quite know what those tests was about. I thought we were playing games and such like that. And I believe I was diagnosed at age 10 or 11, I believe. But before then, I kind of knew that something was extremely off. Something was very odd about how I was treated and stuff too. Like sit at the green corner, or in kindergarten, or hey, don't stand on top of desks, or we're going to roll you up into a taco so you get rid of all this unnecessary stimulus during school. I knew there was something a little different because, well, hey, why aren't the other kids doing that kind of stuff too? Yeah. So I was kind of diagnosed at autism at age probably around 10, 11, 13 areas, something like that. And at first I was just kind of angry. It's like autism, man, that's kind of ridiculous. That's I don't have autism. What are you guys talking about? And it was kind of a big change for me too, because I didn't know what was going on until then. And at first when I could discover autism, it was kind of a little hassle getting used to it and stuff too. I tried to hide it as best I could, but it fails. And then ultimately when I was like age 15 or something like that too, more in my teenhood, I kind of just learned to accept it and try to figure out how to use that label to my ultimate advantage. When it comes to thinking things differently. Absolutely.
So our guest today on the Special Chronicles Podcast show, we're joined by Tyler McNamer, author of the book Population 1, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed. In chapter 12 here, you wrote about I hate divorce. Divorce. And my parents also all divorced as well. I'm just like your parents, and my dad likes business type stuff, just like your dad. So can you share this maybe just briefly, not too much, but just kind of briefly about why you included this chapter in your book?
Yeah. So very briefly, I kind of just decided to put I hate divorce in the book because I kind of want to show off what it feels like during that time and what's been going on ever since then. Sure, I mean a divorce is hard. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's the worst thing that can ever happen, and I just wanted to show what it's like from my perspective, because I have autism, to show why did this happen? What was my feelings? That kind of stuff too. It was one of the hardest chapters to write, and saying hey, I'll be strong, and I'll definitely tell you through and through.
Neat. So then, in chapter 17, you wrote about the growth, or the growth of the invisible boy, and it kind of seems like that might somewhat kind of along the lines of, you said when you discovered autism, how it was a journey for you. So I don't know if this chapter 17 is related to when you wrote about discovering autism and the journey that you went on. But it might not be. It might not even be related. But can you kind of talk a little bit about this chapter now, 17, growth of the
so the growth of the invisible boy. I kind of just exaggerate a little bit on that chapter, title idea. I still kind of like it. I'm keeping it. So, growth of the invisible boy is basically about as the years go on, elementary school, intermediate, middle, and high, you become a bit more invisible each time you're at school. You feel like you're forgotten, that kind of stuff. When it comes to your classmates and such. And back in elementary school, I was into teachers' lounge every so often, for like some treats or you get like blankets or anything like that too. And they would say, okay, we're going to put you in the cloak of invisibility. So pretend that you're invisible too, because we don't allow students in our place. And I thought that was kind of fun too, saying, hey, I'm invisible and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then in the book, I kind of just, said that, I feel like that cloak is starting to be more of a reality as years go on when I'm in school and such. As years go on, the visibility starts to grow, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Neat. And it wasn't until, I was age 18 that, the cloak of invisibility was more of a Harry Potter reference. And I was like, oh, is that where they got it from? Oh, I thought that was made up the whole time. Yeah, neat. You mentioned a few times throughout your book in a few different chapters some articles that you wrote for your high school newspaper, and when I was my high school didn't have a newspaper, but in college we had a newspaper, and actually now I'm an award-winning columnist on special needs issues in just a small local newspaper. Is kind of going along with you writing your first book here, Population One. Did you also have an interest in writing in newspapers and articles and that time and that when you were in high school and even now today? Yeah, actually, writing is always been pretty fun too. Funny thing is that back in elementary school, I was given a little thing that says what are you most passionate about? What are you most interested in and stuff too. I didn't really want to be generic and say PE, because a lot of kids, they kind of say PE and stuff like that, all that kind of stuff. So I just said writing, and I was mostly into writing these little short stories, or what I call these micro stories. I guess I would call them too. Yeah. They're like I don't know, probably 200 characters or something like that too. Very short. I just call them micro stories and such too. And I've been kind of writing these little stories based on the students, the teachers, in elementary school. That was like one of my free times every so often. And then in high school, I decided to expand on the whole writing gig and decided to write for the articles as a guest reporter. And one of the things I did was is just an opinion saying that hey, we should clean up the school dances and all that kind of stuff too, because of the whole sexual bending and stuff like that too. And I'll be honest with you, I have nothing against that. I just have against when it comes to being in high school. Get it? It's like that could be done somewhere else, just not in high school. So I kind of had the courage to kind of saying, hey, let's clean up the school dances and stuff too, because this is high school. You can save it for someone else and stuff like that too. Yeah. It's on the book. I kind of wrote that little article too, describing what I said, exact detail. And for the second article, I just said something about saying goodbye to the senior students, because I thought they were pretty fantastic and were considered some of my closest friends. Neat. And I wanted to say my salutations. Yeah, neat. So kind of go along with writing and media, kind of along with that same
somewhat along the same lines, in chapter 26, you wrote about your media mentors. Can you tell us a little bit about this chapter of kind of what you meant by your media mentors in chapter 26?
Oh, yeah. Media mentors. Yeah. Well, one thing I kind of like to say is that, media mentors is that a lot of people, they like to take things, from different sorts of media, whether it's like, movies or TVs or books and stuff like that. Most people, they tend to, get, information from that kind of stuff too, especially, when it comes to someone who has autism too. I ever heard of this thing called, Life Animates? Very popular, a popular book that just turned into a documentary too. So, this was before I discovered, Life Animates, and I figured, saying that, hey, people who look at media, they like to, take whatever is on there, and then, kind of just perform it in real life. And for media mentors, I kind of just said that, people, they sometimes, could go into media a lot too. I'm not saying there's anything bad about it too. But sometimes, that kind of puts something on the lines of sometimes it can be your greatest tool if you use it a certain way.
Yeah, neat.
So that's what we kind of put on medias.
Neat. What's the name of that film you said? Oh, film and book.
It's called Life Animates. It's a great documentary. I think you might get a kick out of it.
Life Animate, you said?
Yeah, Life Animates, and what it's about is that I read the book first before watching the documentary too. It's great stuff. Both are great. So what it's about is that this kid, he grew up, and when he was like 4 years old, I think he was diagnosed with autism, and he was able to speak through these Disney movies and such. And the first thing that he starts to say was just your voice, which was a scene from The Little Mermaid. Yeah. And the parents were thrilled because they're like, oh my goodness, he started talking once again too. And they think, hey, he could do it. They could do it through animation too, because that's like his world, and he was able to speak through this animation, what goes on in his mind and stuff. Even when he's going out of the house, he plays the scene from Bambi where his mother gets killed, and Bambi's all alone, and same goes for him, being all alone in his apartment. That's what he kind of feels like in that kind of situation. In a way, he kind of talks through animation, that kind of stuff. Yeah, he does talk in general, but that's like a powerful tool for him to speak is with these animations.
Neat. So again, the name of that film you said is Life, and Animate.
Yeah, so Animates.
Animate. All right, so so our guest today on the Special Chronicles podcast show is Tyler McNamer, author of the book Population 1, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed. Moving quickly along here, in chapter 29, you wrote about true leadership, and you mentioned a little bit earlier in our program today, towards the beginning of our program today, about leadership and what it means to be a leader. And can you tell us a little bit about again briefly about you wrote about the different kinds of leadership and a little bit about this chapter?
Yeah, so true leadership, I kind of said, just to it's an exciting chapter. Instead of just leadership, it's true leadership. Yeah. But in reality, there's really no such thing as true leadership, because everyone has their own different kinds of leadership skills. So I wrote this chapter kind of for fun, in a way, saying, I know everything about true leadership because I'm usually the leader. I kind of say that anyway too, but But this chapter kind of explains what it's like to be a leader. What makes a leader. What are examples of not being a great leader. So that's why I kind of wrote down on true leadership.
Neat. I didn't put down in my notes, but we wrote in chapters 33 and 34 about each of your parents. I won't get into that unless you wanted to comment on those two chapters.
Sure. Just real briefly about my two parents is I always feel like I live in two different worlds when it comes to living with my mom and my dad. I live with my mom most of the time. We always have adventures. It's always very, very nice, very happy, that kind of stuff. So I feel the most comfortable. Dad sometimes just takes a little bit more time to get used to every so often.
Yeah, neat. Then in chapter 37, you wrote about the possibilities of change. Can you talk a little bit briefly of what you meant about this? A little brief synopsis of this chapter 37 of the possibilities of change.
Possibilities of change is about saying that hey, a lot of people want change, right? I mean, it goes every around so often, and sometimes you don't really get that change what you want, but it's a possibility. And I kind of just put in different thoughts of how change can be possible, and it's good to think about this every so often when it comes to any kind of change you really like.
Neat. So then in chapter 47, you wrote about the multi-themed.
Oh, yes.
Can you talk about this chapter? Is it multi-themed for your whole family or for just yourself, or kind of a brief synopsis of this chapter 47?
So multi-theme McNamer is generally a thing where I always had this idea where I don't want to be like just this person who writes a book or just this person that's traveling and speak and stuff like that too. That's more like side gig. You know what I mean? I mean, it's always fun. I love being a published author and traveling and speaking and all that stuff. I think that's great. But at the same time, I kind of like to have multi-themed kind of stuff too. You can be light, you can be dark, you can be I don't know, world-class fighter or anything like that, or a golfer or even all that kind of stuff too. You can be like sorry to be generic, but you can be anything you like to be, that kind of stuff too. And you don't have to change. You can just expand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Neat. I'm gonna. I didn't put my notes, but I'm gonna skip over chapter 48, the big event, because you commented on that just a little bit ago about that being your
That'll be a surprise.
Yeah. That'll be a surprise for our listeners to go and get your book and read that chapter 48 to find out about ice cream.
Big event. It sounds very exciting.
Yeah, it does. So, chapter 49, you wrote about in memory. Can you talk to us a little bit about a brief synopsis of this chapter?
Yeah. So, in memory is basically about what goes on through a mind's head when they think back. For me, thinking back is always kind of upsetting to me. I'll be honest, but thinking back, it happens every so often, and and to me, it's kind of like a training exercise on you think back, but you don't necessarily have to feel down about it too. So in memory means that a lot of people, I've kind of noticed this being a kind of thing with people with autism, is that whenever they think back, they always try to punish themselves too, because they feel like they were being a bad kid or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's pretty sad. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been there. Even today, every so often, I think back and I'm like, oh man, that was definitely a big no-no. I wish I could just turn back in time and all that kind of stuff. This could have been different, that kind of such. So in memory is basically how to view the past. How you could change, but you can't. But at the same time, it'll be more of a learning experience, and it can be a positive experience at the same time.
Neat, absolutely. So our guest today on the Special Chronicles podcast show is Tyler McNamer, the author of the book Population 1, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed. And finally, in chapter 50, you entitled "I Have a Name," you wrote, and at the beginning, you wrote the names McNamer, Tyler McNamer. I was told that I'm gifted and I was born to do incredible things, and then you go on, of course, in there. And it kind of sounds kind of like back to what you mentioned at the beginning of our program today, or at least you mentioned in the beginning of the book, I believe in chapter 1, about introducing yourself. Actually, maybe you wrote somewhere in the beginning in the beginning of the book. But can you give us a brief synopsis of this last chapter 50? I Have a Name.
So the last chapter was I Have a Name, and I kind of played on the name quite a bit. With my last name, it's McNamer, MC Namer, and so I kind of play around with that too, and for a while. And I figured for the last chapter it would be kind of a neat little ending saying I have a name, that kind of stuff too. Originally, believe it or not, I wanted to end the book by just saying Tyler McNamer. But then after reading that, I figured, that sounds kind of a little weird. So I'll just say, my name is Tyler McNamer. What's yours? So I'm kind of, just addressing to the audience. What's your name? Who are you? That kind of stuff. And saying that, hey, we're not so different, you and I, even if we have autism or not. Yeah. So that's what I was kind of going for the last chapter.
Neat. So you mentioned that one of your favorite chapters again is chapter 48, the big event about ice cream. But is there any other chapters that we didn't talk about in the program today? Either any favorite chapters or any other chapters that we didn't talk about that you want to briefly tell us about that you recommend to people?
I would probably say chapter 24, which is school stories. And school stories, I want to quickly brief, saying that this came to mind. Hey, school stories. You see them in movies and TV shows and books and such. Everyone has kind of a little like a dramatic, but at the same time entertaining school story. And I feel like that can be a bit of a reality, that kind of stuff too. And when there's school, there's also teachers. The teachers also have a story as well. When it comes to, with the stories and such too. It's we can share it with the teachers, we can share it with the students. So I kind of, put that there because I kind of, it sounds kind of silly. I feel like, school felt like, my entire life, with, friendships and, learning lessons, all that kind of stuff too. It felt like a second or third home if you count my mom and dad's home. Yeah. And saying school stories, it can be an exciting experience.
Neat. So, any other chapters that you want to comment on to share with our listeners, or?
I would like to comment. One more chapter I'd like to point out is chapter 25, which is called the Rainbow Seed.
Neat.
So the Rainbow Seeds was an actual story I wrote when I was in the third grade. I unfortunately I didn't really quite have the very, very, very original story. So I did the best I could with my my memory to write down the Rainbow Seed, which is like this short story of the Rainbow Seeds, and I kind of wrote it as if I was still a third grader as well. In that chapter, and it kind of has this kind of fantasy adventure, that kind of stuff, and this lesson that in the end that stores a rainbow seed, and it's pretty fun. It's kind of a neat story, and I actually got some feedback saying that hey, this is pretty nice. This is a pretty neat tale. I kind of learned something from that rainbow seed.
Neat. Again, our guest today on the Special Chronicles podcast show, we're speaking with Tyler McNamer, author of the book Population 1, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed. So, speaking of feedback, can you share with us about the responses from, if any, of your former classmates in high school, even though you published it right after you graduated from high school, but if any of them that you ran into post high school, if any of them had a chance to read your book, and so any response from them, as well as in the college classes that you're taking, any response from them or their professors, as well as response from your friends and family and other people in the community, either local or community at large, who have been reading the book.
So what's my response for those who read the book?
The response that that either classmates from your high school or in college, or your friends, family, or people in the community, what they have been telling you about the book after they read it.
Yeah, thanks. So most of my audience are kind of like parents and teachers that kind of read the book. They want to understand, and they pretty much the response for them, they were saying, man, this kid wrote a book, and hey, I've learned quite a lot about autism and what my child has been going through. When they're at that stage, like around 6 years old or 7 years old, like all that kind of stuff too. Most of my responses are mostly teachers and parents who read the book as well. Not really quite get a lot of peers, my age as well, as students as well. Even though I kind of wrote this book as short chapters too, so it's easy to read, right? But I don't really mind. So as long as there's an audience, that's all right with me. So so
absolutely.
So the response has been pretty positive. I was very pleased, very surprised, that kind of stuff too. That people really enjoyed my book too.
Neat.
And I very much thank them for reading and get a chance to understand what it's like, and I'm thankful for and I'm able to help.
Neat.
Understand a little more.
Neat. And
shed a little light into the whole autism spectrum.
Absolutely, yeah, and being thankful kind of ties in with just this past week we celebrated here in the U.S. Thanksgiving, so that ties in with that most recent holiday. So you often in public speaking, which I'm sure kind of with this book you've probably done some public speaking at either bookstores or schools or different events, and as a public speaker myself, you hear a lot about having an elevator speech. So like if you're in the elevator for a short amount of time, like 1 or 2 minutes, or to kind of be able to give a speech in the amount of time that you will stand in an elevator. So if you were in an elevator with a copy of your book, can you share with us maybe an elevator pitch for your book? If you're in an elevator with someone, either they have autism or they know someone in their life who has autism, or maybe they have no connection to the autism or special needs community at all, what type of elevator pitch will you give them to pick up a copy of your book?
Sure, I'll do the best I can. So my book, my book is about autism. It's I'm 22 years old. My name is Tyler McNamer. I wrote this book explaining what it's like to have autism in the first person view. Autism can be defined in a lot of different ways, and everyone has their own different kind of experience on what it's like to have autism. I like to share a little bit of my perspective on what it's like to have autism, And I think you might be pleasantly surprised on what's like to have it, and maybe you could relate if you have autism or not. We are very much at the point where we're not looking for a cure for autism, but we're looking for ways to accept it as a whole.
Awesome. I might even use that elevator pitch as a promo for this podcast program. That's what we call it now. to get people to listen and to read your book as well. So, do you have any plans to write a second book, or third book, or fourth book, or fifth book, or either a second and additional books after this one?
Well, I am kind of working on the second book. I decided to do a little new way of starting it. I'm going to start writing down the chapter ideas. It's all going to be 50 once again, which makes it a total balance of 100 chapters. So this second book is going to be called Joining Population 1, and the subtitle would be Autism, Tribulation, and the Will to Thrive. And the reason why I kind of call it that is because I kind of like the letter T, so I kind of like to use it more often. And for the tagline, I'm still kind of working on that. So that's kind of like a hard thing I'm kind of working on.
Yeah.
So, for the second book, it'll be more like a spiritual successor to the first one, adding some more different kind of topics and adding some more juice into them too.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty darn excited about the second book, even though it's not a really, even though it's on the very, very first stage into it.
Neat. So we'll have to have you back on the show again when the book comes out.
Looking forward to
it. Are you planning? You said you're only in the beginning stages of your second book, but are you planning to have that book out in 2 or 3 years from now, or do you not have a particular deadline to have the second book?
Well, my deadline was before graduation, and that was only a week late.
For your second book, I mean.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that was a week late.
When it comes to deadlines. For the second book, usually deadlines kind of scare me a little bit too, because it's all about doing best you can, doing your own time.
Yeah.
But if I were to put a deadline, I would probably say about a year and a half, I would say, or probably 2 years. I kind of forgot how long it took for it to get fully published.
Yeah.
I did remember writing it, and it took quite a while to get the editor and the cover artist and the printer all the way in California. And I kind of forgot how long that took, but I would probably say a year and a half to 2 years. So that's all I can say for the deadline.
All right. Neat. So what would you say to encourage others with autism and different special needs, to encourage them to go to college, and also to encourage them to write a book of their own story?
What will I do to encourage others who want to write a book who has some sort of a unique, extraordinary ability? Well, my message would be to them is that writing a book is incredibly easy, and the only hard part is to get it in written form. The manuscript is always a hard part. So my tip to you is that if you love music, make sure you listen to music while you write. So, get your thoughts into ideas, and get those ideas into written form. They don't have to make sense. Every so often, just type away, just write away, that kind of stuff. Because when you look at the stuff that you've written, you can probably mix it up and put them into written form. What do you mean? What do you want to connect to the writers too? And ultimately is that hey, anyone can write a book. Just anyone. The only hard part is a written manuscript form. And if you can do that, then you're already ahead of the ballgame.
Neat. So again, our guest today on the Special Chronicles Podcast show, speaking with Tyler McNamer, the author of the book Population 1, Autism, Adversity, and the Will to Succeed. So, almost finally, any social media plugs that you'd like to share with our listeners? Website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, any of those type of plugs for the book as well as for yourself. If the listeners want to either find out more information and purchase the book, as well as to follow you as well.
So my Facebook is Population One, which is my Facebook page. I pretty much mostly use that more often, to advertise. My dad kind of helps me out with the whole advertisement of the book. He kind of just shows off, with Facebook, because Facebook is one of the biggest sources for advertisement too. I was pretty surprised too.
Yeah.
And I do have a personal account, but I hardly really use it that much but I kind of use Twitter for news-based information too. It's like everything I'm doing, like hey, I'm going to be on a podcast. I kind of just write it down on my, type it down on my Twitter. So Twitter is one of my favorite things to use, because not only if I use it for business stuff, but I can use it for my personal sayings too, while keeping it appropriate too at the same time. Like, hey, I do business, but at the same time, I can do some personal stuff too. A place where I can just relax and be myself.
Yeah.
So Facebook, Twitter.
And what's your Twitter handle?
What's that?
What's your Twitter handle? People
can... Twitter is at Tyler McNamer. Right. So capital T, all one words, capital T, capital M, as in Manuel, and capital N, as in Nancy. Yeah, I always kind of say the N has to always be capitalized. Yeah. I always put streaks of tails on the letter N every time I saw my book.
Yeah, neat. And any other social media and website links? Instagram, YouTube.
I should probably use social media more often, but I guess I could say I have Tumblr, Tyler McNamer, all lowercase, and Instagram, Tyler McNamer, all lowercase.
Awesome.
It's kind of easy to know. It's like hey, my name. Chances are I'm probably in the social media sites. I should probably use more social media sites more often too, but I mostly use Twitter, to be honest with you.
Okay, awesome. And the website for your book is and how people can purchase the book.
Oh yeah. I forgot to mention that. So you go to www.population1.com, and then from there you can see the book and you can order it. Order online through PayPal. You can use your credit card and such, and then you can receive your book a signed copy. That's right. Every time people order my book from my website, they get a signed copy. So every day I check my infusion stuff, saying whoever ordered my book, they get like a little signed copy. To Daryl, Autism Works, and then I write my name, Population One. Excuse me. I write my name, Tyler McNamer. Yeah. That's definitely not my name. It's Tyler McNamer. Yeah. My name is McNamer. So signed copy. It's like a little extra bonus. So think of it as a little, exclusive, purchase. Because you don't really quite get that on Amazon.
No. Yeah. So, and are you also on YouTube or any other places, or is it just mostly Twitter and Facebook and Instagram?
Well,
and the website.
Well, my dad, he kind of just does a whole YouTube kind of stuff too. He's under Jody McNamer. That's his little YouTube thing. So Jody, Jody, McNamer. That's where he does mostly. His business stuff.
Okay.
Because he's a all-time businessman. He does business training. He does real estate. Super good at what he does, and he kind of posts some of my public speaking engagements too as well.
Okay. Awesome.
I have thoughts of doing YouTube stuff and Daily Motion. I kind of wanted to do both, just to share.
Yeah.
And such, but for me, I try to figure out what's a good first video, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I have really no major plans for that at the moment, too. I mean, ultimately I'll have YouTube account, but to share some share some animations or some tips
Yeah.
and to interviews, what's the thing? Oh yeah, public speaking engagements too.
Yeah.
But I'll do that in the meantime. It'll come out eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and with Gmail, you automatically have a YouTube channel, so I'm sure that would be easy to set up in the future when you do. Do you have any final thoughts on our overall time together today that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, I gotta say that being a podcast is serves joy. I just want to thank you for interviewing me. I thought you did a fine, good job. I did have a good time doing this interview, and I thought it's good stuff. I'm glad I get to get my voice heard, and I hear stuff about my book. I hope that your listeners will enjoy the book when they purchase a copy. And looking forward to do more podcasts in the future. Awesome.
So, like to thank you. I was gonna. Yeah. Anyway, I lost my train of thought though. Thank you again, Tyler, for taking the time to come on the Special Chronicles podcast show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me.
I hope that you enjoyed hearing our conversation with Tyler McNamer, our exclusive conversation with Tyler McNamer, author of the book Population 1, Autism, Diversity, and the World to Succeed. And make sure that you stay tuned for how you can enter to win a copy of his book, Population 1. And make sure that you also purchase a copy for you and your friend this holiday season.
So go away. We're right back.
As I said, we're back. That was a quick break, but make sure that you purchase a copy of his book for you and a friend this holiday season at population1.com, and stay tuned to find out how you can enter to win a copy of his book. And I hope you guys all enjoyed our conversation, and we will be back next week with another exciting episode of the Special Chronicles podcast show. I hope you guys all have a wonderful Christmas and New Year and holiday season. Please help again to support us, specialchronicles.com/given, specialchronicles.com/given, and we thank you for your generous support. And reach out to us anytime, feedback at specialchronicles.com, or on social media on our Facebook or Instagram or Twitter pages as well. Thanks. Until next time, take care, and God bless. We'll see you around.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
Not to have insult Tyler's interview right here, but delete these words right here.
My name is Tyler McNamer, and I am from Seattle, Washington. And you are listening to Special Chronicles Podcast, giving respect.
Scratch that. I need to do that over again. Blah, blah, blah.